Hi everyone, these are going to be the, just the reaction steps, the basic reaction steps to the pentose phosphate pathway. There's one main one in each of the parts of the pentose phosphate pathway that specifically for purposes of this exam that my class has, the professor requires us to just know, like, two basic things about this pentose phosphate pathway. It's steps, two basic steps. There's a ton more information about it when she was doing the notes, and I'll be going over that, but let's just focus on the actual steps themselves in these short videos. Okay, so pentose phosphate pathway is again going to make NADPH, which is going to be crucial in order to regulate how glucose 6-phosphate is being used in the cell, as well as it's going to serve as a defense against oxidative damage. For example, when we're talking about oxidative damage, when we're going through all these pathways, we might make reactive oxygen species. And these really damage the cells. Again, oxygen is a very strong oxidative force, hence the name. So we need to make sure we have NADPH to protect against that damage. We're also going to make ribose, or a form of ribose. We're going to have this 5-carbon sugar, and of course ribose, and the form of ribose that is made through the pentose phosphate pathway could be used as a precursor for the nucleic acids. Alright, that out of the way. Again, this won't have all the steps in the actual reaction pathway, just the ones that the professor stressed about for the test, and there's literally like 2 of them. It's going to be the very beginning, and then the end result, and then again for the second part, it's going to literally just be the end result. Alright, so we have the oxidative phase now. So we've made glucose 6-phosphate. Again, glucose 6-phosphate, you can make it from glucose via hexokinase. So glucose 6-phosphate will become this lactone, this molecule called a lactone. And we're also going to get some NADPH. The enzyme that completes this reaction is glucose 6-phosphate, yep. And it's a dehydrogenase. So glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase is the enzyme that gets the glucose 6-phosphate to a lactone and NADPH. Okay, so that's like the first step in the real reaction, and in the exam we're not going to need to know any of the other steps, but we need to know that the end result of the oxidative phase is the creation of ribose 5-phosphate. So we need to just know the end result, and then again this first step. Alright, that's the oxidative phase. This video is going to be probably one of the shortest ones I've done on like notes from the classes I'm taking. Non-oxidative phase. This is where we're going to take that ribose 5-phosphate, and first we're going to make it into a xylulose. A type of xylulose. Again, we just need to know that this ribose 5-phosphate will return back to our starting material. The enzyme here is an epimerase, and then the rest of the steps we don't need to focus on. Again, this is for just the exam purpose only. And the end of the non-oxidative, there's going to be a ton of these steps, and we're just going to return back to glucose 6-phosphate. So we kind of come full circle here. So non-oxidative, we just need to know the ribose-like molecule that we've made in the oxidative phase will go all the way back to glucose 6-phosphate. This NADPH, sorry about that, NADPH, this molecule here actually acts as a regulator. So we were talking about how we have glucose that goes to glucose 6-phosphate via hexokinase. And this could either go to the pentose phosphate pathway or to glycolysis. So far, at least, this glucose 6-phosphate actually does a ton of other things, but so far in where we are in the notes in the chapter and whatnot, as I'm going back over this, we're going to go to these two choices. So if we go through the pentose phosphate pathway and we make our NADPH, this actually acts as a regulator, blocking this off. It inhibits the pentose phosphate pathway, which we've made enough. Therefore, the glucose 6-phosphate is now directed to glycolysis. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Please do something nice for someone, and stay tuned for more.